right, folks. This is Rabble Rouse and Rich Bergeron.
Ladies and gentlemen, the Tornado, Tony Pettico.
And Psychic Tom has it with this normal crystal ball ready to go.
All right, well...
Tom, why didn't you crystal ball and tell me I was going to be in a bad mood tonight?
Because I know that you're going to be out of it within the hour.
Okay.
Prediction.
I hope you're right.
Yeah.
I hope you're right.
Tom's always right.
That's right.
Guaranteed. Or your money back.
Well, what's that old cliche? Once I thought I was wrong, but I can't remember it now. It's ridiculous cliche. By the way, a psychic opened an office around here. Everybody said you ought to go there and get some side work. Then I kept saying, well, when you make these predictions online, or like I did when I was working for the Miss Cleo line, the Psychic Readers Network. If nothing works too well, they don't know who you are. But if you're doing it, listen, and you live a couple blocks away, they know who you are.
Yeah. You got to go out the back door sometimes if you get it wrong.
You said I'd get a girlfriend in a month. I didn't.
All right, yeah. You got to be good at disguises sometimes. Get away from those people. Anyway, we got it right. We got the winner right anyway.
You would have been so proud of me yesterday during my Zoom interview. I was so polite.
Yeah, I saw that on Facebook. I mean, I didn't see the actual interview. I didn't click on it yet and check it out, but I definitely saw it.
I congratulated the city of Tampa and Clearwater on their Super Bowl win. I was very kind.
You're so gracious. You didn't even win lobster.
I am. I tried. I know. Maybe, well, you figure when I go down there in a few weeks, I'm sure they'll hook me up with something down there.
Yeah. Well, we had a big UFC fight over the weekend, Usman versus Burns, and Psychic Tom and I were correct in picking the winner. We thought it would go decision, but ended up being a TKO. Usman took a lot of punches to get the kill in the third round. He definitely looked rocked in the first, survived that, and seemed to really get his jab working in the second, and then the third was just 34 seconds in. He got the TKO and just demolished Gilbert, just put him right on his ass. And, he had a nice long talk with him afterwards, but obviously they have some history together.
Yeah. That would be weird, fighting a training partner that you really worked with, and I guess you cornered each other. That would be strange.
Yeah.
You really have to put it aside.
And then we had quite an interesting female fight. Alexa Grasso ended up coming out on top against Macy Barber, but both of these girls were just swinging for the fences at one point. I think it was the third round. Macy just her coach screamed something at her, and she just took it to a new gear, and was just throwing haymakers one after the other and landing half of them. But it was just where did she come up with this extra gear? She was going the whole fight at one pace, and then just stepped it right up, but it wasn't enough. Alexa got the win there. And then before that, Kelvin Gastelum beating Ian Heinisch by unanimous decision. Sort of a slow fight there. It wasn't that entertaining. But before that, we had Ricky Simon beating Brian Kelleher by unanimous decision. And I saw the big segment about this guy being a bartender and then getting into fighting, and got on one of the Contender Series shows and earned his contract. And now Julian Marquez is a social media star suddenly, because he, on the Valentine's Day Eve show, he asked Miley Cyrus to be his Valentine after he won his fight against Maki Pitolo. And Miley Cyrus responded, because he did it, on the live video of his interview. And so Miley Cyrus responded and said she'll do it if he shaves her initials into his chest hair. So he decided to come up with a GoFundMe for charity, to support charity. The Barstool Sports Fund is his chosen charity, and so he's going to do it if it gets to a certain amount. He's going to actually do the thing, and then obviously then Miley's got to follow through. But wouldn't that be something? 5 years from now, we're going to be talking about the marriage between Julian Marquez and Miley Cyrus, because instead of calling out somebody for a fight, he called out a girl he wanted to date. Unreal. But, stranger things have happened. I know years ago, I don't know if we talked about it on the show, there was like somebody that wanted a female celebrity to go with him to a military ball or Marine Corps ball or something like that, and the girl ends up going, and then somebody else copycatted it. A female military lady did it with Justin Timberlake like 2 years later. So this is not an unheard of tactic. But who knows? We'll see. See if it works out. But Julian also actually got permission from Dana White to do some contests on social media as well with the loudest sports cities in general. He wanted to do a contest. I don't know who ended up winning that contest, but it was like all about putting a hashtag out there for your town or city. Before that fight, we had Anthony Hernandez beating Rodolfo Vieira by guillotine choke, 1 minute 53 seconds into the second round. Bilal Muhammad beating Diego Lima by unanimous decision. Polyana Viana beating Mallory Martin by armbar submission, just 3 minutes and 18 seconds into that one. Chris Gutierrez beating Andre Ewell by unanimous decision, and Gabriel Green beating Philip Rowe, also by UD. Not surprisingly, there's some issues with Adrian Broner. Big surprise, right?
Yeah, right.
Tom could have predicted this.
What do you do now?
With his eyes closed and his crystal ball behind his back, right?
You bet.
So I'm waiting for this to load up, but I caught this story, had to chit chat about it on the show. But anyway, I got to think it's got to have something to do with his finances, and get a chance to actually go over it. But last time we talked about him, he was trying to argue that the only way he was making money is his friends were giving him money. So that was the only way he was able to live. This time, this is, I think, talking about that same instance in November, where the judge said, "This is a problem, Mr. Broner, because you have ignored basically every order I have given you," when you get sent to jail for contempt. Now there is a punishment. And never has a guy picked a better nickname. They call him the problem.
Yep, it's true.
But he still has these unbelievable opportunities. And this is all regarding just a lawsuit. This is not regarding criminal charges that started this, where he now got charged and held in contempt. He's 2 years removed from his most recent fight, which was a loss to Manny Pacquiao, and 4 years out from his last win. Now he's facing Giovanni Santiago, an undefeated but unheralded fighter, on Saturday. Showtime fight at 9 o'clock. Now he owes $855,682.03. Tough to come up with that last 3 cents. It is required to pay to settle the lawsuit as of affidavit on January 29th. Well, there was a criminal case. That follows a criminal case in which he pleaded guilty to misdemeanor assault and unlawful restraint after he forcibly kissed a woman at a club in 2018. In a court filing submitted on January 29th, Wells Fargo said Broner had no funds available with a large stamp across blank lines. Broner, who once said his initials stood for about billions, insists, however, that financial considerations aren't the driving force behind his ring return. Well, I don't need money. I just got none. At one point, he tried to act like he could even beat Floyd Mayweather, and he was, for the longest time, sort of Floyd Mayweather's protege, basically, understudy, and took a lot of his style too, with the up jab and the shoulder roll and all that, but just never perfected it, as far as I could see. But then tried to act like there was beef between the two of them, and tried to hype up a fight one time in one of his post-fight interviews after a win, and just never took off. Floyd never took it seriously, so that fight never happened. Never will. But claims he's someone who never looked for the easy way out. But anyway, he says about this upcoming fight, even if I didn't have these pending cases against me, I'd still be training my ass off and be ready to get back and make a fortune. God gave me a blessing, and God gifted me with some great talent, and I'm not going to let it go to waste. So we'll see what happens. He says, I got a lot of fight left in the game. I'm not here to rush anything. I think everything's going to fall into place. I just got to do what I got to do, and let's get this victory. He wants to stay at 140 pounds, a weight he hasn't successfully made since 2015. This weekend is a chance for him to remind people of how he was once elite before these legal issues. In addition to the assault conviction, he also has a driving under the influence charge from 2020 while he was on probation. So, oh boy, good luck getting that straightened out. We had an MMA fighter, long time, pretty famous MMA fighter, hang it up just prior to his birthday, which I believe was either today or yesterday. Stefan Struve, the skyscraper. One of the tallest fighters to ever go into the cage for a fight. He's like literally head and shoulders above the top foam on the cage. But not tall enough to avoid the Mark Hunt, Mike Tyson's punch-out jumping punch that broke his jaw. And he actually listed that on his injury list as far as things that make you retire early. But it turned out to be kind of a strange issue. He had taken some time off to deal with a health issue with his heart. This time it has nothing to do with that. He came back from that. Now it's some kind of inner ear issue where his balance will be off, his equilibrium will be off, and it's exacerbated by getting hit in the ear and the side of the head. So he can train and go hit the bag and not have any issues, but as soon as he gets popped or punched, in a certain spot, he'll have major issues. So he's literally being forced to hang it up. So just one of those things. He says, after the new tests were done recently, we learned that the vestibular system is not working properly. The first conclusion in May was that it was most likely BPPV, which is called benign paroxysmal positional vertigo. So he's had loss of hearing and tinnitus, ringing noise in the ear there, and hang him up. Ends with a record of 33-13. And in the UFC include a second-round TKO victory over champ Stipe Miocic and a submission victory over Marcos Rogerio de Lima. He actually lost his last two fights, and the ear problems really started after his last loss. So that's it. He's gonna have to find something else to do over there in the Netherlands. And we talked about Gina Carano last week, and now another guy stood up for her, or actually sort of tore her down a little bit. Ariel Helwani, who I would never guess is Jewish. But apparently he's Jewish, so he took offense to what Gina Carano said, and in comparing the conservatives in the United States today to the Jews trying to escape the Holocaust. Obviously, she was doing hyperbole and for effect, and I think she was purposely trying to get fired at the same time. But anyway, she said what she said, and it really pissed off Ariel Helwani. So who jumps in the mix but Dana White to call Ariel Helwani a douche for giving Carano shit? And Dana White has said, everybody makes mistakes, it's forgivable, no big deal. But yeah, anytime you mention Nazis on social media, the chances are there's going to be some backlash, especially if you're famous. Yep. But Dana White was concerned that Ariel Helwani made it all about him. Have you ever heard a sillier comment from the bald father? Who makes it all about him all the time? Ridiculous. But anyway. He says leave Gina Carano alone, Dana. But Helwani actually said that he hadn't agreed with a lot of the things that Gina posted over the whole past year. So this was just kind of the last straw for him. But interestingly enough, Dana White is the boss of the UFC. He doesn't outright own the whole thing, but he owns a very big portion of it. Considering his role as just the president and the mouthpiece. But he has a lot of money and a lot of influence, and he's the guy that's going to be asked every time they make a new big deal with a big company, what's your opinion? So it was odd that, not odd, I guess, but interesting that ESPN actually put out a statement backing Ariel Helwani on this. But here's the exact words from Ariel Helwani. He said, "This last post, essentially comparing being a Republican in America or having a certain political view to being a Jew in Nazi Germany during World War II is asinine. It is an absolutely crazy comparison to make, and is completely insensitive to think that Jewish people and other minorities as well, not just Jews, but in this particular post, Jews were the ones discussed, had to hide in attics and in gutters and had to be separated from their families and murdered 6 million of them." So yeah, and they had issues in the past, Dana White and Ariel Helwani. You might remember we talked about it on the show. Ariel was denied press passes at one event because of controversy over Brock Lesnar's announcement of a fight that Ariel Helwani broke without Dana White's knowledge and approval, I guess, and they wanted to keep it secret for a while longer. And Ariel Helwani broke the news, so Dana was so pissed he pulled his press passes. So that was a whole debacle. ESPN stood by him, and he said he's a longtime professional. They said Ariel is a valued colleague and an exceptional MMA reporter. His record speaks for itself. Dana White also speaks for himself, but had a problem. Had a little problem with Ariel. had to insert himself into that whole situation. We were talking about Stefan. Alright, we went over the fights from last weekend in boxing. You guys probably remember I singled out one guy and I thought, oh, this guy has a great fighting name. Josh Warrington. Undefeated fighter going in.
Yeah.
And he got knocked the fuck out against a guy
Had to go.
he was supposed to beat. All actions where it was going to be a walkover, and he got knocked out. So that was, I guess, the upset of the week. Why does it take forever to load? Alright, we'll wait for that one. I'll find something here. We got another UFC fight night coming up this weekend. Derek Lewis versus Curtis Blades in the main event there. What else we got here? We got my fellow tree guy coming up on a fight, Joe Smith Jr. We're going to talk about that in a minute. Yeah, Mauricio Lara. I guess, according to this article about the Warrington fight, Warrington came in with a little bit of a chip on his shoulder. He was not happy. He didn't want this fight. And just seemed like he was in a bad mood. Got knocked down in the 4th round. Come on, shut that down. Don't care about your cookies. Alright. So, knocked out in the 9th round. So his senses were scrambled, but somehow he rose to his feet after the 4th. Lara swarmed all over him, and then he was in such distress that the referee came close to rescuing him. But he came out for the 5th. Got a little bit of a rest. And then he landed enough punches to mark up Lara around his eyes. But then he just looked uncomfortable. He actually shook his head on a few occasions, like, what the hell's going on? But then just went after him in the 9th and just didn't make it through. So he had, Lara had a decent record, won 21 of his 23 fights, but all those bouts, apart from one in Argentina, had been at home in Mexico. And Lara had also been knocked out by another unheralded Mexican, Elliot Chavez, in May 2018. So he went all the way to London, the first time leaving South America. Yeah, he beats up South America and Mexico. And goes to London, across the pond, and beats up an undefeated fighter in Wembley Arena. God love him. So we'll see what he does with that. If it's a Buster Douglas one and done, or a career-changing event for him. And Claressa Shields. She's trying to make the move to MMA. She's signed with the Pro Fighter League there. But she's also pretty pissed off about what's going on with boxing, which is really the reason why she's moved. MMA world and started to train for a fight there. But she's been trying to make a match in boxing, and she's obviously been pretty dominant at super middleweight. She's become the undisputed women's middleweight world champion by 2019, winning all 4 of the main belts: WBA, WBC, IBF, and WBO. And in January of last year, she defeated Ivana Habazin to claim 2 world titles at light middleweight, becoming a world champion in 3 different weight classes, faster than any boxer in history, male or female. But she hasn't had a boxing match since. And she said, "I know we have COVID and everything, but boxing had been back going since about September. They told me they were going to have a fight for me in September. They had a date for me in October. And then to be told that I got to get put on the back burner to all the men, and I'm not going to be able to fight until 2021, in January or February, And this is with the network that I was associated with, Showtime. Of course, the global pandemic drastically altered the sporting landscape, but some of the boxing's biggest stars have stepped into the ring, while Shields hasn't fought, notably Anthony Joshua, Saul Alvarez, and even Shields' main rival, Katie Taylor." She says, "I'm constantly telling my family, hey, I got big news coming because I've been told verbal promises. To be put on the back burner to fighters who haven't accomplished not even half of what I've accomplished, not even a quarter, and they are getting put on main events. Showtime, they just give me crap about it, telling me I'm not big enough to be on pay-per-view. But they're putting guys up on pay-per-view who I know I'm more known than." Showtime actually responded, "Claressa Shields has headlined 6 boxing events on this network, which is unprecedented for any male or female fighter with just 10 professional fights." This is what they said to CNN on this. At 25 years old, Shields is a tremendous talent, which is the reason we have invested heavily in her development in and out of the ring over the last 4 years. We wish her well in her MMA career. But, now that Showtime is doing the move with Bellator, who knows, this could be a little pushback. Like, hey, you should have signed with Bellator. You're already with Showtime. But anyway. She responded, "For some reason, I'm still not big enough to fight pay-per-view on Showtime. And that's just sexist because the guys get to make the calls. They're the ones who make the shots. And I got more followers than the men, and I got more people who know me worldwide than the men. But for some reason, they qualify to be on pay-per-view. With me, I don't even qualify to make $1 million. And it's just like, what the heck?" According to the Washington Post, Shields was paid $300,000 for her win over Habazin more than a year ago, a fraction of, say, the $4 million Deontay Wilder received to fight Tyson Fury. She didn't stop with Showtime either, she said. "Premier Boxing Champions is sexist too. They don't have not one female boxer signed to the stable. ESPN only has one woman fighter to their stable, and that's Michaela Mayer. One female fighter."
Rich, it's amazing when people try to create demand.
Yeah.
If demand, if it's not there, it's not there. Period. And there's no demand. I mean,
I feel like this could be a Saturday Night Live sketch.
Get my drift.
Because of the other issue that we're facing now due to one of Joe Biden's executive orders with transgenders being allowed to compete in women's sports. As you're born a man, but you get to compete as a woman now. So maybe they'll get one of those people to fight Claressa. And then she won't be wishing for it anymore.
I say that.
What was that, Tony?
I was like, but doesn't that make you brave? And I'm being sarcastic. Like I saw the one was like a 6'8" man that became transgender and was playing like a women's collegiate basketball or something. He was like towering over the foot. Ridiculous.
Well, it may just take somebody like that. wants to declare himself a female. Hey, you know, I hate to do it to him, but Oscar De La Hoya is a candidate. He's at least dressed like a female before.
Yeah. Look, I said, and he was going to be the next trend. It's going to start happening in combat sports. Last week, we'll get to the fights in a minute, but you had Jojo Diaz lost his title on the scales. Didn't make weight. Now you can just say I identify as 135 pounds. I weigh. That's good. I'm making a comeback. I'm fighting junior lightweight. I mean, I might weigh about 235, 240 right now, but I identify as 135.
Well,
thank you.
Right. Well,
that's what it says. It goes. I want to consider myself like a thin person. I'm trans slender.
Trans slender. I've seen that one.
I identify as a skinny person.
I identify as a heavyweight now, but I fought at 185. I'll be close to light heavy MMA pretty soon, though. I'll get there. Anyway, so last week we had Saturday the 13th. We had a few fights. Patrick Teixeira losing to Brian Carlos Castano. Ronnie Rios beat Oscar Negrete. Not a lot of huge names. Richard Comey won his fight against Jackson Marinas. Lee Wood over Reese Mould. Yeah, nothing too huge there. But this Saturday, different story. We got heavyweight fight, big one. We got the Broner fight. We got Canelo. No, that's next Saturday. Sorry.
Yeah,
I never heard of.
Actually, news fighting this weekend is I think on one of the cards. I don't know if it's going to be televised or not, but it's Sonny Conto out of Philadelphia, up and coming heavyweight that was sparring with Tyson Fury a couple years ago.
Well,
It's fighting, I guess, about a year because I don't think he's fought since the pandemic.
wow. Before we go through the schedule for this weekend, I just wanted to mention this one boxing story I got left. Teofimo Lopez is prepared to move forward if Top Rank can't meet the terms for a fight. In an interview last Saturday on ESPN, Lopez addressed a report about a contract dispute between himself and Top Rank for a future fight against mandatory challenger George Kambosos. Lopez is looking for more than the guaranteed purse of $1.25 million to defend his IBF title. Yes. Come on, ESPN. Damn site's taking forever. So it's still haven't heard anything if anybody's given any interest to buying Top Rank. I know it was for sale. Bob Arum's still holding on. I wonder if he's gotten his COVID shot yet. But Lopez is saying that if it's not in the works to get his money, he said he's prepared to face Kambosos, but not promoted by Top Rank if the price is right. He said, I'm looking forward and I'm moving forward. If you can't meet the terms, and like I said, I'm taking my talent somewhere else. So obviously the value of your company is going to go down if you give up a star like that. Top Rank is not willing to pay more than $1.25 million for a fight against Kambosos, who is 19-0 with 10 knockouts. The IBF has actually scheduled a purse bid for today. I don't know how that worked out, but that gives the bid's winner the right to promote the fight. It puts the onus on ESPN to produce the rest of the money for Lopez's purse. In 2018, Top Rank signed a 7-year contract with ESPN. Lopez is 16-0 with 12 knockouts. Is just 4 months removed from defeating Vasily Lomachenko in October to win the WBA, IBF, and WBO lightweight titles. So yeah, after a big win like that, I mean, who wouldn't be screaming for more money? Wish I had a live stream. I could show my cats in the middle of the fight right now. Wrestling. Alright, so in his interview about the situation, Lopez explained why his financial situation is different than it was 4 months ago. Because you got the best fighter in the world on that display, Lopez said. It's all paid dues, and that's what we did. We paid our dues. I am your favorite fighter's favorite fighter. That sets the tone, and I think that everybody needs to realize that. I am the truth. I am the best in the division. Said he's going to stay at 135, and he's going to wait for the winner of the junior welterweight bout between Jose Ramirez and Josh Taylor. Their fight is actually yet to be announced. But they also fight on ESPN and are promoted by Top Rank. So we'll see. You gotta earn it, he says. Alright, so this Saturday, the 20th, we got a UFC fight to talk about, and we got some boxing matches. Started right off with a real crazy journeyman fight here from Argentina. Lightweights, Jorge Rodrigo Barrios, 53-4-1 against Jonathan Victor Barros, 42-7-1. Sounds like these guys might be second cousins twice removed here. The only difference in their last name is an I. Nothing really too crazy on the rest of that card. A lot of Argentina fights going on. Your website's being slow for me tonight. Alright. Here's one from Hamburg, Germany. Of course it disappears on me. We got, I know I'm going to butcher this name, but Zan Kosobutskai, who is 14-0, fighting Ono Ryodi Awariemi, who is 18-1, for the vacant WBA International Heavyweight title. And I don't know if these are members of the Kraft family that own the Patriots, but we got a super middleweight and a light heavyweight. Spelled the same way, K-R-A-F-T, just like the mac and cheese. But light heavyweight, James Kraft coming in at 18-0-1, fighting Malkaz Sujashvili, who is 12-13-0. It's all 6 of his last fight's losses. So James Kraft is going to probably stay undefeated. Tony Kraft, on the other hand, he's 16-1-1, facing an undefeated Rostam Ibrahim. Won all 6 of his last fights. Tony with an I. T-O-N-I. Kraft. 16-1-1 at super middleweight. That was interesting. Over in Germany. But okay. We got fights in Mexico, of course. Nothing too crazy there. There's one from the Philippines. Not Manny Pacquiao fight, but the vacant World Boxing Association World Minimum Weight title is on the line. Big fight. Roberto Paradero, 18-0 against Victor Saludar, who's 20-4. And we got Russian fights too here. Super middleweights, Fedor Chudinov, 23-2, fighting Isaac Chalemba, who's 26-7-2. No title on the line there, but there's a tough test here for a guy named Stepan Dian at super welterweight. He's 3-0-1, fighting Laikar Ramos, who is 30-9. A lot of experience there. 3 fights, 3 wins against 30 wins. That's tough. And then we go to the United Kingdom for David Avanesian, 26-3-1 at welterweight, fighting Josh Kelly, who's undefeated at 10-0-1. That one's for the EBU European welterweight title. And at super lightweight, we got Robbie Davies Jr., who has 20 wins, 2 losses, fighting Gabriel Gales Valenzuela, who's 22-2-1. That was for the vacant IBF Intercontinental Super Lightweight title. And featherweights on the undercard, Jordan Gill, 25-1, fighting Cesar Juarez, who is 25-9. That's for the WBA International Featherweight title. The big boys on USA Showtime from Uncasville, Connecticut at the Mohegan Sun. We have Otto Wallen. Got beat up pretty bad by Tyson Fury. He's 21-1, fighting Dominic Breazeale, who is 22. And then we get the co-main event.
Yeah, but you figure, Otto Wallin, he went the distance with Tyson Fury. He had him cut bad, and he took some shots from Fury, and he was wobbled a few times. But he had Fury hurt in the 12th round. And then Wallin just had the win last year over Travis Kaufman. Kaufman hurt his shoulder in that fight, but Wallin was, pretty much dominating the action. Dominic Breazeale, I got to say for Wallin in this fight. Breazeale has 2 losses, but he was stopped by Anthony Joshua, and then he was completely bombed out of there by Deontay Wilder in about 42 seconds, 1 punch. I know I got to give the chin to Wallin in this fight, and I think I got to give I think Breazeale might have better punching power, but Wallin has a sturdier chin and a better work rate. I think Wallin wins this fight in about 9 or 10 rounds. Maybe
I go with that. I can agree.
Yeah, Breazeale, has good experience, but doesn't have as much high-level experience you probably need for this one. But we'll see how it goes. We'll see if he can pull off an upset. Otto's a big boy, though. Also got the aforementioned Adrian Broner on the undercard. He is 33-4-1, fighting Giovanni Santiago, who's 14-0-1. And we got Robert Easter Jr., 22-1-1, against Ryan Martin, who's 24-1. And Zachary Ochoa, 21-1, against Juan Jose Velasco, 22-2. And I think we talked about this guy before. I'm not sure if it was this guy or another guy that I thought was related to Sharon Carter. He's 12-3 as a bantamweight, fighting Roche Warren, who's 17-3. That's the whole card there. And we go to Miami at the DoubleTree Miami Mart Hotel. Kanat Islam in the main event, 27-0, fighting Obodai Sai, who is 35-3-1. And co-main event, Harold Calderon, 23-0, fighting Jonathan Jose Aniz, who's 25-14-1. Also on the card, Raul Torino at featherweight, 16-13 against Julio Buitrago, who's 13-25. Some horrible records there. And also in Florida, we got a whole other card. Nothing too outrageously exciting, but a nice welterweight fight here between Ivan Galub, 18-1, fighting Luis Eduardo Flores, who's 25-17. We got Ramon Cardenas, 18-1 at super bantamweight, fighting not a Jesus fight of the week, but an Angel fight of the week. Angel Antonio Contreras, who's 10-3-1. Here we go. We've been talking about Elon Musk because of the Bitcoin thing, right? How about Elon DeJesus. Day Jesus. He's the day trader Jesus, I guess. Elon. This is a real fighter. Elon DeJesus. He is 1-0 at Super Bantamweight, fighting Alexander Mansell, who is 0-1. So, it's like Elon is betting on Bitcoin. You can bet on Elon DeJesus. He's going to win this one. For sure. Alright. And we got fights in Kentucky. Francisco Emmanuel Torres at Super Welterweight. 15-3. Fighting Luis Hernandez, who's 8-1-1. That's the main event. And our boy Clay Collard is in the co-main event down there in Kentucky. 9-3-3.
Nice.
Also does the MMA there. A lot of it. Here and there. But he said he wanted to concentrate on boxing this year, I believe. Just looks better and better every time he goes in there. It's just such a great pace to the fight. The fight game for him. He's fighting a guy that's undefeated this time. 10-0, Maidel Sando, super middleweight. So, good luck, Clay. I don't think you're going to need it, but, don't get intimidated by a guy's undefeated record. And we got a super welterweight fight between DeJuan Johnson, 13-0, and Fabian Laimo, who's 23-13-2. Alright, and we still got more. Las Vegas. I don't know why this isn't on big American TV, but great main event fight here. Not quite as somebody's always got to go, but Miguel Berchelt only has one loss. 37-1, fighting Oscar Valdez, who's 28-0 for the WBC World Super Featherweight title. Also on the card, another undefeated fighter, looking for his 28th win with no losses. Esquiva Falco, fighting Artur Akavov at middleweight, who's 20-3. Then we got Gabriel Flores Jr., 19-0, fighting Jason Velez, who's 29-7-1. And our Elvis fight of the week, Elvis Rodriguez, super lightweight, 10-0-1, fighting Luis Alberto Varon, 18-2-2. Somebody's always got to go fight on a smaller scale. Xander Zayas, who's 6-0, fighting... Nope, that's not the one. Brian Lua at super featherweight. He's 7-0, fighting Freevian Gonzalez Robles, who's 4-0. Somebody's always got to go there at super featherweight. And then before that, we have the fight Tony was talking about. Sonny Conto at heavyweight, 6-0. Fighting Where's Waldo? Cortez Acosta. Waldo Cortez Acosta. 6-3. So, as long as Sonny can find out where Waldo is, I think he can win this fight. Let's see. You gotta love it when there's fights in South Carolina coming up this weekend, and the main event and the co-main event are both TBA as opponents. Can't even let BoxRec know what's going on. Alright, so that's it for upcoming boxing. And UFC Fight Night 185, I guess, is the last thing we got to cover here. Wait for that to load here. And it's the big boys here on the top of the card. Curtis Blades and Derek Lewis. Curtis has a better winning percentage. Derek Lewis has a little bit more experience. But also that experience comes with a few more losses. Coming in at 24-7 to Blades is 14-2. They both have their upsides. Derek got a bad knee. He's susceptible to the leg kicks. Doesn't have the best cardio, but he has that one-punch knockout factor. And if Curtis doesn't stay at his distance and use his reach, he's going to be in trouble. But I like Curtis in this one. I must say by knockout. But could be second or third round. Could take that long. But they're going to be swinging for the fences in the first. Good chance it'll happen then, whoever wins. What do you think about that one, Tom?
Yeah, hard to argue that. Lewis is just so unpredictable and streaky.
Yeah.
And it seems like he's the kind of guy that when you count him out, though, he seems to pull the upset off. But when you really think he should win, he comes up short. Hard guy to figure, but King Blades is if worse comes to worse, they'll just get him on the ground and maybe win it there, too. But it ought to be entertaining.
Yeah, there was a fight with Mark Hunt one time, and I was like screaming at the TV for Mark to keep kicking him in that one knee that he obviously has issues with. And he was just sort of running around the edge of the cage, just trying to survive. And Mark Hunt had the opportunity to take him out. He just kicked that leg a couple more times and let him kind of crumple, and then he could have just punched him to submission. But he ended up escaping that one without getting knocked out. And I don't think he's really done that much with his cardio since then, but he's obviously still got that punching power, and if he can avoid being kicked too much, he can use it. So he's always dangerous, but for how long? That's the question. If you got a 5-round main event between these two guys, I don't think it's going the distance. But stranger things have happened. Co-main event, Caitlin Vieira, 11-1, fighting Yana Kunitskaya, who's 13-5. I don't really know a whole lot about either of these two. But, female fighters with more than 10 wins going at each other. And main card, co-main event, it's definitely going to be a good fight. They always seem to put it all on the line for those. We also have Charles Rosa, 13-4 against Derek Minner, 25-11. Alexei Olenek, 59-14 with one draw, looking for a 60th win here against Chris Daukas, who's 10-3. And we got Phil Hawes, 9-2 against Nassourdine Imavov, who's 9-2. We got Andrei Arlovsky, 30-19 against Tom Aspinall, who's 9-2. Jared Gordon, 16-4 against Danny Chavez, who's 11-3. And first, that's the 8th fight of the night. I thought, it was a small card for a second. Let's see, Jared Gordon, 16-4 against Danny Chavez, 11-3. Drakkar Close, 11-2-1 against Luis Pena, who's 8-3. Eddie Wineland in the middle of the card on the 7th fight. He is 24-14-1 against John Castaneda, who is 17-5. A lot of experience on this card. Nate Landwehr, 14-3 against Julian Erosa, who's 24-8. Rafael Alves, 19-9, fighting Pat Sabatini, 13-3. Shanna Dobson, 4-4 against Casey O'Neill, who's 5-0. Chaz Skelly, 18-3 against Jamal Emmers, who's 18-5. Second fight of the night. Ayman Zahabi, 7-2 against Draco Rodriguez, who's 7-1. And first fight of the night, Sergey Spivak, 11-2 against Jared Vanderaa, who's 11-4. That's about it. So I've forgotten anything that you guys want to remind me of.
Nothing I can think of, But I got to see some fights last weekend, but after the week I had, I was ready to just stick my head in the sand. This weekend I'm going to need a lot of caffeine.
Yeah.
So, I'm going to need a lot of caffeine to get through Saturday night's card. And then Sunday I got that comedy show I'm going to, which I'm trying to arrange a meet and greet. See how that works. I'll have to send Tom my Zoom interview with the Tampa Bay newspaper, or Tampa Bay news station yesterday.
Yeah, that'll be fun.
Yeah, I got to check that out myself. Mr. Celebrity.
Those are always fun.
If we can figure something out, we'll definitely have a guest for next week, and we'll have a little bit to talk about with some of these fight cards coming up. We got a busy Saturday for boxing, of course, and got the MMA stuff coming up. And that's about it. Till next week.
Yep.
I didn't get a chance to gamble my Super Bowl money because I was so busy with the firewood last week that I spent the whole day before the fights working. Didn't have a chance to pick out a lineup. So we'll put it all on the line this weekend and see if we can't pick some upsets and get some cheap fighters. Put the right mix together. Last time, I was 64th out of 7,000 people. Kind of shitty when you get that high up on the lineup and you can only win $30, but you know, it's only a matter of time. It's a lot higher up than I've gotten in some of the NFL contests. So. I'm still pissed off for some reason I can't do the sportsbook on FanDuel because I guess DraftKings is the one that handles the sportsbook up here. So they have exclusive ability to sign people up for their sports book, and you can't do the sports book with FanDuel for some reason. But you know, when you try to sign up for it, they tell you they're working on it. It's total bullshit. I haven't heard anything about them working on it. Oh well. I get to put all my gambling money that I can set aside into Bitcoin now, which is going through the roof. Just went past $52,000 the other day. Not having the hottest day today. I made $70 so far off of it, which I shouldn't say made because I didn't sell it. That's my accumulation of United States dollars to Bitcoin. All right. I don't know how do you do cryptocurrency on taxes, Tom? Have you figured that out yet?
How do you do it on what?
How do you do it on taxes? Do you have to declare your Bitcoin on your taxes? Or only if you...
Yeah. It's a regular, it's like a 1099-B. And so far, the ones I've been doing this year, these guys really haven't pulled the trigger much. Kind of, because their word is volatile. But you know, hindsight's 20/20. Had they stayed in, but it's like they make little profits and jump out.
Yeah.
And I haven't gotten any game stop clients yet either.
No GameStop millionaires doing their taxes with you?
Yeah.
No roaring kitty?
It's funny because every time I look at the 1099-B statements, if it has one from Robinhood, I just have to ask them. And I said, now, you know what I'm going to ask you before I even look at this, don't you? And they laugh. No, I didn't get in.
Well, yeah, they were talking about that on CNBC today. They had the CEO of Robinhood. They were grilling him on Capitol Hill or whatever. And one of the senators or congressmen asked him about the fact that the average user looks at their phone and their app like 2,000 times in a single day.
Sounds that right?
So it was just like, wow. So they were concerned that, you know, this is really given indications that it's an addictive platform. And so the CEO snaps back with, well, that's not our goal to have people looking at their apps 2,000 times a day. You know, that's not our intent. We just want to allow people access. But the big controversy there is what they call payment for order flow. And it's basically how they make money by getting so many customers in with free trades, but they steer these customers towards certain companies, which makes the whole thing, when they stopped the ability for these customers to buy certain stocks, and at the same time they're getting payment for order flow from one of the companies that bailed out the fund that was shorting GameStop. When that was actually connected to a guy that owns the New York Mets. I forget what the name of it is, but
Yeah, Cohen.
yeah.
Cohen.
So, small world, but they definitely had to rig some stuff to figure it out. And it was the day that they halted it, the first day that Robinhood halted that ability to trade that stock. They allowed people to sell it, but not to buy it. Which, of course,
right.
For anybody that's shorting the
That's
stock,
the rub.
is a dream come true. So that tanked it enough, and they got out of their positions that day, and then, it was kind of hopeless after that. But you had to know that was going to happen to be able to make money off of it, and when it was going to happen. So it wasn't quite a perfect scheme, It definitely worked. I'm still fascinated by the whole thing, but you have to wonder whether there's going to be any kind of actual action. We saw what happened with the impeachment. That was basically all for public opinion. All of it. We spent millions of dollars on that thing in taxpayer money. All for a show of public opinion, because you knew going in the Republicans were going to vote the way they were going to vote. He wasn't going to get impeached, but it's all for show. So, is that going to be the trend for these congressional hearings and all this other stuff, where they supposedly try to investigate something? Are they not going to do anything with it, or are they going to actually take action? We don't know. But I did hear that they're actually trying to take action against some people like this guy, Roaring Kitty, that came on there, and guy Keith Gill. He had to capitalize on the lawyer there with the cat video, the cat filter. He said he had a cat poster behind him that said "Hang in there," and because his nickname is Roaring Kitty on the Reddit board, So he starts off his remarks with, "I'm not a cat." But who would have thunk, These are the stories of our time. The other nickname he has is even funnier, especially when the people at CNBC try to say it. Deep effing value. But he doesn't say effing in it. He spells it right out. Deep fucking value. That's his other nickname. Awesome. All right. Till next week, guys. Thanks for
All right, guys.
All right, guys. See ya.
Get some sleep. Stay warm.